George Miller's latest entry in the Mad Max series and the follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road, one of the greatest action movies of all time, has hit theaters. Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga is in theaters. Is Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, a worthy follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road? Let's find out. Here's my review. So obviously, probably like many others, I went into Furiosa with some pretty high expectations. I personally consider Mad Max Fury Road to be probably one of the greatest action movies ever made, and the fact that we're getting a follow-up sequel that's actually a prequel, still a sequel, I was really excited and really hoping it would be just as good as Fury Road. I did not have a chance to see Fury Road when it was in theaters. I do remember when it came out and people were talking about it, but I wasn't into the series at all, so I never went and checked it out. I discovered it later on Blu-ray and have subsequently fallen in love with the film, and as I said, widely consider it one of the best action movies ever made. Obviously, following that up, it's going to be a huge challenge, but if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be George Miller.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines!
So kicking things off, talking about the story. So Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, obviously tells the story of Furiosa and her origins. She's one of the main characters in Mad Max Fury Road, but this being her origin story, we get a lot of background on her life and what brought her to where we found her and first discovered her in Mad Max Fury Road. So we meet her as a young girl and follow her on her journey across the wasteland, really, as she is kidnapped from her home and forced across this wasteland along with all the different people who rule over it. Along her journey and eventual quest, we meet new characters, we revisit familiar ones from Fury Road. Pretty much all the characters that carry over from Fury Road are performed by the same actors, which I thought was a cool little touch. Characters like Immortan Joe over the Citadel, and his henchmen and the other leaders of Gastown and the Bullet Farm, all of them return. The story even takes us into these locations for the first time. If you remember from Fury Road, the primary plot is just going from the Citadel to Gastown and then back, but we actually get to spend a good bit of time in Gastown in this one and even on the Bullet Farm as well. So it just kind of helps to flesh out the world a little bit more, give you more world building, lore, context to these stories that are being told within it. The most significant addition to the cast, aside from Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa, which we'll talk about in a minute, is Chris Hemsworth as Dementus. And he is the one who kidnaps her as a child and seeks to find her home, which they refer to as the Plentiful Place. So all of these different locations and leaders and lords all kind of clash in this story that is truly epic in its scope, as it covers even just in Furiosa's life, it covers her starting from childhood all the way growing into adulthood as she adapts to this lifestyle within the wasteland. And of course, she is also seeking this opportunity for vengeance against Dementus, who is trying to take over all of these different strongholds within the wasteland.
Promise me you'll find your way home.
Jumping into the themes for the movie, like the previous film, Furiosa's primary theme is revolving around vengeance for her character being Furiosa. And then besides that, we also get to get a deeper understanding of her motivations that are kind of kicked off in this movie and will carry over into the follow-up or predecessor Fury Road. This longing and desire for her lost paradise, to return to her family, all of that in many ways I thought kind of compared thematically to the journey of like the Christian faith, where Furiosa is facing this dark and often threatening world that is doing everything to crush her hope of returning home. And depending on the challenges that you encounter in your own life, that might feel this similar type of journey that you're experiencing as we're seeking a home in heaven, but facing all of these trials and tribulations along the way in our time here on earth. So thematically, I really enjoyed the movie. There's a lot more to it than that, but those are just some of the little things I picked up on that I really appreciated. Now, diving into the performances, obviously, namesake for the movie, we have Furiosa, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, and she truly embodies this character that we originally met in Fury Road, but get a bit of a different angle, different interpretation to an extent. It's still very much a Furiosa centric story, and it doesn't divert from those characteristics and that personality we were originally introduced to, but you kind of get to see a lot of this background of what brought her into where we will eventually see her in Fury Road. I think it's really great too that we have two separate interpretations of this character, and both of them are so solid. I already mentioned Dementis a little bit, but Dementis, obviously played by Chris Hemsworth, is a refreshing and fun new role for him as we get to kind of see him play a bit more of an antagonistic role for the movie. There's a lot of just kind of anarchy and chaos surrounding his character and his personality, which I thought was really fun and interesting for the character. It's always nice to see him do something a little bit different and really feel like he's enjoying himself throughout this performance and really getting to play with it and have a good time with it. We also have Praetorian Jack, played by Tom Burke. Now, this is a bit of a smaller role, but it's still an important one for Furiosa's journey. There's not too much in depth with his character, but it was a fun dynamic between him and Furiosa together as he's training her, and he is a significant part of kind of her journey that will carry on not only in this movie but beyond into Fury Road. And then, as I talked about with the returning characters, aside from them, there's just an abundance of side characters, each unique in their own way. Like I said, a lot of them brought back from Fury Road as we get to see them a little bit earlier in the timeline between the two films. But even though there's a lot of these different characters and a lot of moving pieces and stuff, I never felt like it was ever too much to follow or comprehend or understand as we were going through and bouncing all back and forth between these different locations and perspectives and stuff. It all flows really well. It's really well conveyed, and all of the performances, you can tell they're all having a good time with it, and they're really putting in the work for it. Now jumping into the action, probably the bread and butter of the Mad Max series. Now this movie actually has a lot more story to it than Fury Road did. Fury Road is kind of a cut and dry action movie, and there is a good story that's being told throughout, but the action is front and foremost. But despite the fact that this movie has more of a focus on story, when that action kicks in, it's fantastic. There's one extended sequence, action sequence that lasts like 15 minutes about midway through the movie. This scene had me on the edge of my seat for every second of it. It still sets itself apart. They do some really unique, amazing stunt work throughout it. And I even saw an article that said it took them like 3 months to film that sequence. So the work definitely paid off. It's an amazing sequence, and it just enhances the film that much more. Now, there is a bit more variety to the action in this movie. While they were very creative in Fury Road of the dynamics of most of the action taking place on the road and stuff throughout the movie, this one, you got some action at different locations. You got some speed chases. You have more creative environments and stuff to play around with. So I really thought they utilized that well and added a good variety of the type of action sequences. Some of them involved more stunts, while some were just kind of like grand scope action stuff as well. So I really appreciated the variety that this movie had, especially having a bit of a longer runtime to it. It really worked well for me. As I expected, there was amazing action, amazing stunts, and really great visual effects along the way as well. A couple miscellaneous thoughts before I dive into a few criticisms. The movie is beautifully shot. It's really continues that visual style that we got introduced to with Fury Road, which I think is an amazing style. They do really great, cool shots of cinematography. The coloring on the movie is really great. The costumes are incredible. Everything's created, developed, and captured beautifully. So I absolutely loved and appreciated that aspect of it. And I will note that there is a bit of a different structure to this movie than Fury Road. Fury Road is a front foremost action movie, action thriller, where this movie, like I said, with the more story, it has a different structure to it. They actually break this up into chapters. I believe there's 5 or 6 chapters throughout the movie, and each one lasts 20 to 30 minutes or so. And I thought it really helped to kind of contribute to the grand scope of the movie. But at the same time, I do feel like that might come with a little bit of where my criticism lies with the movie. So that structure does make it feel a little bit episodic. It definitely feels like a 2.5 hour movie, not in the sense that you're like bored, but that structure definitely doesn't help you forget the fact that you're watching, a 2.5 hour movie. But not every chapter is consistent with that pacing that it has. While some are better than others, at times it will feel like you're binging through this limited series in a theater, which I think works really well, but it does kind of show a few of the cracks when it comes to a little bit of the pacing of the movie. There's not too many issues with it. I never felt bored throughout the movie. Some of the scenes maybe could have been trimmed down a little bit here and there to improve on that pacing, but overall I do think the structure worked for the movie, and I liked that aspect of it. As we're following Furiosa over a lot of her life and adolescence, it helps to show that passage of time, and I think it works well for that. I do also want to note that if you have not seen Mad Max Fury Road and you're planning to go see Furiosa, seeing as it's a prequel, so you're not really going to get anything spoiled for you, that you should not stick around for the credits, because throughout the credits, they show clips from the movie Mad Max Fury Road. And if you have not seen Fury Road, it's probably going to spoil like half the movie for you with the clips that they show. Furiosa leads right up, back to front, to Fury Road. So I think they would work really well paired together. But if you have not seen Fury Road yet and you want to go watch Furiosa, you can do it. Nothing else will be ruined for you, but just don't stick around for the credits because you're going to get some stuff spoiled from you. So finally, my rating of the movie. I did give this movie a 4.5 out of 5 stars off of this one viewing. As I indicated, I love Fury Road. I think Fury Road's a 5 out of 5. For now, I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 5. I was somewhere between 4 and 4.5, but I try to not get too nitty gritty with decimal points and stuff like that. So I did give it the benefit of the doubt with the 4.5, just because it was so well crafted, so well made. All the performances are really great, really well done. So I do want to give it the benefit of the doubt, even though I only had a few nitpicky criticisms along the way. So 4.5 out of 5 is my score for this movie. I would love to hear your thoughts on the film in the comment down below. So let me know what you thought of it and give your review and rating as well. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I will see you in the next one.